they all should get the death penalty. So we don't have these kinds of creatures breathing the same air and walking on the same planet as we are. They should at least get the death penalty or rot in jail.
It's time to talk.
Now, you might know the name Austin Allan Hughes. In 1993, he took part in the brutal and horrific murder of a 6-year-old boy on the New South Wales south coast. Now, apparently this man, who served 16 years for the crime, is now living in secret in the Kempsey area with a woman and her children. And Austin Allan Hughes is currently before Port Macquarie Local Court for breaching the conditions of his parole. Now, for legal reasons, we won't be talking about that matter at all tonight, but on the line I'm joined by Gary Ashfield. Now, Gary is the brother of murdered child Johnny Ashfield, and he is on a crusade to bring back the death penalty for child killers in New South Wales. Now, personally, I'm no supporter of the death penalty, but when you read the details of how Johnny Ashfield died, the way he suffered, and the inhuman way he was treated in his final hours at the hands of his own mother, and this creature, Austin Allan Hughes, who is allegedly living in our very own neighbourhood, you can understand why there is a growing movement in New South Wales to restore the death penalty in extreme cases. G'day, Gary.
Hello.
Gary, you're 23 years old now, but you were just 4 years old, just a baby, when you and your sister watched and listened to your own brother screaming for his life back in 1993. Now, Gary, nobody can imagine exactly how our lives would be affected by being a witness to such an evil act. But describe to us what kind of impact those hours in 1993, what impact have those hours had on your life?
The impact that it had on my life has been terrible. I've been, and I still do have, nightmares. I've tried to commit suicide several times. I've recently came out of rehab last year for wanting to jump in front of a train. And from this day forward, I, continually still having nightmares. Even though I was 4 at the time, I feel, in my opinion, guilty for not trying to stop those two creatures murdering my brother, even though I was only 4, the youngest boy sibling.
You feel guilty?
Yeah.
I hope, Gary, you have people around you that are putting that in perspective. You were 4. You've got absolutely nothing to feel guilty about. I know that's easy for me to say. I don't live the life that you live, but I hope you have people around you telling you that exact same message. You have nothing to feel guilty about, especially when people come to understand your history as well as your brother's. I'll just take our listeners through it. On that day in 1993, your mother and Austin Hughes were seeking to dish out punishment to your brother Johnny, 6-year-old Johnny. Now, according to court documents, they waited till he arrived home from school before they confronted him. And at that point, Austin, the man who's currently before Port Macquarie Local Court, kicked Johnny like a soccer ball and he slapped him around the head. Now, your mum and Austin followed Johnny into his room, and then their attack was can't be described as anything else but frenzied. They used fists, they used rods, and when Johnny was begging for mercy, Austin, according to the court documents, tried to make him wear a dress and mocked Johnny, telling him he was screaming.
Austin actually forced the dress on him.
Forced the dress on him.
Yeah.
And just when it seemed like it couldn't get any worse, Gary, there was a phone book pressed to Johnny's head, and he was repeatedly beaten with a hammer, and it didn't stop until he went limp. It was many hours before your mother decided to take him to a hospital, and after sitting him under hot and cold showers...
Before took him to the hospital, she decided to throw Johnny to a hot and cold shower, banging his head against the tiles. And all what Austin was wrote about was the tiles, not John getting his head beaten up against the tiled wall.
And then when Johnny was eventually taken to hospital, he clung on for the night. He finally passed away the next day. And you
Yes.
poor little thing, Gary, you and your siblings, you listened to this and you watched parts of this. And you actually remember parts to this day, don't you?
My two older siblings that can't be mentioned were forced to jump off the top bunk onto Johnny. I wouldn't jump on him, so they both decided to hit me around the head and drop me on my head. So I've got mild brain damage and epilepsy and depression from all that.
So the abuse that was dished out to Johnny was also dished out on plenty of occasions, even prior to this day, on you and your siblings, and you have permanent brain damage as a result of that.
Yes.
Gary, your mother now goes by the name of Angelique Castrom. Now, have you spoken to her at any point since she was jailed or after she was released?
I did at first, when she first went to jail, till I found out the truth. And all what she did was just told me a bunch of lies. So then I found, when I was living in Corrimal, my sister brought her court papers and that up. She left them at my place, and I went through the paperwork, the court's paperwork and that's how I found out the truth.
Wow, so you didn't find that out till years later, even after she was released, is that correct?
Correct.
The reason we're talking to you tonight is because you're calling for the death penalty to be introduced in New South Wales for convicted child killers. Tell us why.
I reckon that not just New South Wales, the whole Australia should bring back the death penalty for people that harm children in any way, bashing, murder, raping them, whatever. They all should get the death penalty, so we don't have these kinds of creatures breathing the same air and walking on the same planet as we are. They should at least get the death penalty or rot in jail.
A death penalty, it wouldn't bring Johnny back though, would it, Gary?
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It would get all the child murderers off the street for once and once off. Or, so yeah.
Yeah.
No child murderers wandering the streets, as better the kids in Australia, it will be safer.
Mm. Do you have much support for this death penalty push that you're on at the moment, Gary?
No, not much support, but my brother has a group called Justice 14 Years Enough on the internet, and there's all those people there are actually supporting for the death penalty.
Mm. I think most people who hear your story would completely understand why you're taking this stance. Absolutely understand and respect. You're never going to stop loving Johnny, are you, Gary?
No.
Yeah.
I think about him 24/7.
What help have you got around you, Gary?
I've got support from the church I go to in Wollongong called Lighthouse Church. I've got heaps of people there supporting me. I've got some of my neighbours supporting me, and I've only got about 3-4 blood relatives supporting me.
After the community services finally reacted, and it took that horrific incident for them to actually react, you went through multiple placements in foster care, some of which were abusive in themselves, I understand. What do you do at celebration times, Gary? What do you do at Christmas time, for example?
Christmas, birthdays, Easter, I just stay at home and bawl my eyes out in front of the photo of my brother.
You're on your own at these times, is that right?
Johnny. Yes.
Yeah, Gary, look, you deserve a lot better than that. I'm going to talk to you off the air, okay? I'm going to get in touch with you after we finish this chat, okay? And we're going to stay in touch with each other, and we can see what we can do for you, all right?
Okay.
Now, Gary, I'm going to stay in touch with you also about your crusade to bring the death penalty back. I'll be interested to see how it goes. I won't be surprised if you get a massive support on your Facebook page. What's the name of the Facebook page again?
Justice 14 Years Enough. Or you can look me up on Facebook, Gary Matthew Ashfield.
Gary Matthew Ashfield on Facebook, and then you'll be able to get to your page from there. Gary, thank you for talking to me tonight. Yeah. I'm going to leave it there, but I'm going to stay in touch with you off the air, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks very much, Gary.
Thank you. You're welcome.
That's Gary Ashfield there. What can I say? That's the voice of child abuse right there. We'll be back very shortly.
It's time to talk.
And you are listening to Time to Talk. What a pleasure it is to have your company and all the people who are calling up tonight. It is greatly appreciated. I love getting your feedback. Rex from Dunbogan has called up regarding our conversation with Gary Ashfield. Now, he's the brother of John Ashfield, who was 6 years old when he was murdered by his mother, Gunn-Britt Ashfield, and her boyfriend at the time, Allan Hughes. Now, Allan Hughes is in front of the courts at the moment, not regarding that murder. He was found guilty of that. He was jailed and has been released. He's actually in front of a court for breaching parole. We are not talking about that tonight. We can't legally, but Rex from Dunbogan has called up about Gary's call for the death penalty. How are you, Rex?
I'm good, thanks, mate.
Thanks for calling up. What did you want to say?
Well, what I'd like to say is that maybe the young fella who I sympathise with should give Ray Hadley a call, if that's possible.
Yep.
Because I don't really believe in domestic violence, which is obviously what's happened here.
Mm-hmm.
I sympathise with the young fella, however old he might happen to be, but maybe he should give Ray Hadley a call, and Ray might be able to do a little bit more than what we're able to do up here in the mid-north coast.
Yeah, might actually be able to connect him up to the services that he needs to be connected up to, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a nice suggestion, mate. I will pass it on to him. I've worked with Gary a little bit. I'm going to be calling him tomorrow too to follow up. We're trying to get him in touch. I mean, he has, just to be transparent about it, he has been hooked up with quite a few services, but I think more can be done for him, because I think that you must have sensed what I sensed when I spoke to him, that he's a very lonely person and he's not doing as well as he should be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can understand that.
But good on you, mate. Thanks for your concern, and I'll pass that on to Gary.
Not a problem at all, Tim. Thanks for your program.
I much appreciate it. Thanks very much. That's Rex there from Dunbogan talking about our conversation with Gary Ashfield there. You can give us a call too. 6585 3456 is our telephone number tonight.